It's very difficult to convey just how important the first Fallout was to CRPGs, not only because now most people associate the series with Bethesda's open-world games, but mainly because its influence is so widespread that it became almost invisible, says the CRPG book. And that seems true. You listen to people talk and it's always Fallout this and Fallout that, but there is this nagging question. If these games are so influential, then how come they never made more than 3 of them? Is it because Todd Howard did a capitalism defiling the moral code of the franchise? Interesting opinion, and perhaps it's true. But then how come this genre was never replicated in the independent scene? Steam is full of games that list Fallout among their inspirations, but none of them actually play like a classic Fallout game. Invisible presence indeed. I can hear it, but I can't see it. Let's just rip off the band-aid. Classic Fallout is not influential at all, but what is influential is the conversation about Fallout and the philosophy we created to explain how this game works. A philosophy that failed at what it was designed to do. Let's play the game and talk about all these things. And the best place to start is the beginning.
Come in, Chosen One. There are things you must know.
Northern California is experiencing the worst drought in decades. Our home, the village of Arroyo, is in danger. A tribal champion, the strongest or the cleverest of them, is to be sent into the wastes to search for a solution. In order to prove our worth to the villagers, we need to go through the Temple of Trials. New players having trouble surviving the early game should tag unarmed at character creation or just run past the creatures. The Temple of Trials is not the most fondly remembered location because it's basically a tutorial that takes a little too long and it's annoying to go through with a non-combat build. We don't talk enough just how weird this place is. Or who built it? It doesn't seem to be a pre-war museum. Or what is this face? The final trial is a duel against one of Arroyo's warriors. Are all of your tribe so weak? The battle is not to the death. It's easier if you tag unarmed, but perfectly doable even without it. Our great ancestor used to wear this. We made it.
Congratulations, Chosen One. You have survived the Temple of Trials.
I didn't know this until recently, but the Elder is our mom, and the daughter of the Vault Dweller, the protagonist of the first game.
Take this flask. It is from the Holy Vault 13. Vic, a trader in Claymath, brought it to us.
Find Vic, the trader. Ask him about the ancestral Vault 13. Find the Gek artifact in the vault. It will save the village. Alright, got it. More weird heads and faces. Arroyan culture is strange and intriguing. Clearly there is an artistic side to it. None of this is ever elaborated on, which is of course smart. In a game about adventuring from place to place, you don't want to spend too much time in the starting location, and whatever is conjured in your imagination when you stand here listening to the ambient track will certainly be more convincing than any lore dump. The Chosen One is not a conventionally attractive man. It goes beyond the looks. People just feel uneasy around him.
My garden is well. How is yours?
The only person to ever show kindness to us was Hakunin the Shaman. This is why we are a little knowledgeable in the art of doctoring. It's a nearly worthless skill you can play for dozens of hours without ever having a limb broken, but it's critical for the story I want to tell. We tag the big guns skill. Don't do this if you are new to the game. You won't get a big gun until many hours in. Finally, I pick the fast shot trait. This makes our ranged attacks cost 1 less action point, but disables the powerful aimed shot ability. We never felt we truly belonged in this community, and the feeling is mutual. Frankly, the other tribals were relieved to see us gone into the wastes. Back in the saddle.
Oh, that's a shame. Conversation with a genuine mutant like you. It'd certainly paint me a picture of what life's like in that radioactive hell on the mainland.
Claymath is a small town of gecko hunters and Brahmin herders. The world sure has changed. Fallout 1 was about fledgling communities surviving in the wasteland. The sequel takes place 80 years later, more than enough time for the survivors to establish local cultures, economies, lifestyles. It's brilliant that after giving us a taste of exotic tribal culture, the game shows us this. Claymath, the most normal place in Fallout 2. It's so normal it violates the theme. There is no overarching ethical conflict in Claymath. The town has two establishments, Buckner House and the Golden Gecko, and they offer mutually contradictory side quests, but not like ideologically contradictory. And sure, the Golden Gecko people are a little rough, but they don't have the grand design for the community to join the KKK in the end of their quest arc. Claymath problems are adventure game problems. One of the hunters is missing. Go find him, learn his craft. A ghost is haunting a nearby canyon. The broken robot was protecting this beautiful sprite that's perhaps foreshadowing something. This guy is placed near the town's entrance, and his purpose in life is to vomit exposition about Claymath's non-problems. Exposition NPCs are a classic sin of isometric RPGs. There is no need for them. You can tell a lot about the character of a place via mapping, the ambient track, the random barks, preferably without semicolons. Voice actors can also contribute.
Maida takes care of trade here, and her mother, Arden, takes care of the rooms. No shaman in town, but you may be able to trade for medicine.
One useful thing nearly everyone should do is to recruit Sulik. Fallout 2 is the first game in the franchise in which companions can play a major role, if you build your character to support this playstyle. That's not us. But sure, we'll take him. He's a tribal. We are brotherly peoples. The main event in Claymath is this large 3-level dungeon full of rodents, culminating in a fight against a huge rat with glowing eyes that speaks human. Master Todd, the custodian of the franchise, would later retcon this lore in his RPG sensation Fallout 3. The story reason for us to visit Claymath is Vic the Trader, who lives here, or lived here. Looks like no one been home for a long time. One of the locals tells us to look for him in the nearby place called The Den.
You're bad news walking. Grampy Bones say we be stacking up the bad karma just being near you.
A town of junkies and gangsters, the Den is the closest thing this part of the world has to a commercial hub. It appears Vic the Trader got himself in trouble with the Slavers Guild. The Elder said he might know where Vault 13 is, so we need to bust him out. This is a classic Fallout problem. In terms of quest scripting, everything is very simple. We can either purchase Vic for a considerable sum, or we can kill all the slavers. That's it. There is no convenient persuasion check to set the gangs of the Den and the slavers against one another. We are given a task, and it's up to us to figure out how to use the skills and the items we have to solve it. The first solution we should consider is violence. See this door? Somewhat unintuitively, using the lockpick skill on an unlocked door would lock it, which is useful for separating the slavers into two manageable groups. Another important tool is thievery. These guys hold their weapons in their hands, so they are impossible to disarm this way. However, this slaver here has a potent combat drug in his inventory, something we can use. But the cleverest thing you can do is to get them drunk. Alcohol lowers the perception stat, which affects ranged accuracy. Plenty of alcohol to be found in Claymath, and it's near worthless to traders. There are other strategies. It's possible to attack after dark with a weapon equipped with a night sight, or to plant bombs in their inventories, but we don't have access to that kind of equipment. Or perhaps you are not into violent solutions. In that case, we can work on acquiring the necessary sum to purchase the kidnapped trader. There are plenty of side quests for us to do. You know, I can't explain it, but there is something degrading about side quests in the Den. We can farm random encounters on the world map, but that takes too long. Instead, let me share my favorite get-rich-quick scheme. This here is Flick. The game describes him as a thin and greasy man. Flick is in charge of the street kids in the den. They hang around popular establishments and pickpocket the passerbys. They can even steal quest items. If you are lucky, these will end up in Flick's inventory, ready to be bought back. But that is not my way. Make sure you place your character in the door frame so that Flick has nowhere to run as he is being physically dismembered by Sulik. He should have hired guards. This business plan was quite flawed. That's Flick's entire stock. Guns, bullets, armor, drugs. Things useful for economic activity in post-apocalyptic conditions. Capital makes more capital. An imminent drive, they say. So we take our new guns to the nearby store and ventilate Tubby the Trader and his bodyguards. He was actually smart enough to have guards. That's competent entrepreneurship. Our tribals have enough firearms between them to equip a small militia. Perhaps the Aroyans should do this instead of looking for a stupid-ass Gek. Just march into the den, take it over, shoot all the gangsters. Try aiming at me next time. Alright. The consequence of all this is that the town no longer has merchants we can sell our loot to, but Claymath is next door. The Slavers Guild is how we maximize our profits. Metzger, the leader of the slavers, offers almost 2,000 bucks for Sulik. He was a good man. What an excellent return on investment. An even bigger decision is joining the guild. The new members are branded with a tattoo, so everyone we meet will recognize that we are a slaver. This has huge repercussions. Many potential companions will refuse to join with us, not that we give a damn, and many individuals will outright refuse to talk to slavers at all. So what are the benefits of being a slaver? There aren't a whole lot. We can go on these raids. What happens is that the slavers find a bunch of tribals or refugees or people down on their luck and send a squad after them. Our job is to put down anyone who resists. Afterwards, the slavers go from person to person, beat the shit out of them with cattle prods, and handcuff them. The scripting is elaborate. A successful raid pays around 1,000 bucks, provided none of the slaves were harmed. Run, it's a slaver! Huh, I crack myself up. But there are only 4 of these raid missions, and the other slaver entities elsewhere in California have even less content. In any case, we acquired more than enough money to buy Vic, who will hopefully tell us what to do next, because so far, we've learned precious nothing about Vault 13. But we did learn a whole lot about how the minute-to-minute gameplay of classic Fallout works. You know that feeling when you play a game and it says all the right words, and it does all the right things, and yet something is missing, a secret ingredient that made old Fallouts magical. The secret ingredient is that the classic games were designed to take advantage of the real-life skill of creativity. Many of the pretenders delegate the choice-making to dialogue windows and contextual UI elements, so instead of thinking how to solve a problem, you just pick an option from a list. Vic says he has never been to a vault, but he knows of a place called Vault City, which he marks on our map. The journey takes weeks, and on our way there, we stumble upon a small farming community.
You may bear the mantle of the chosen, but your dark soul cries from within.
Welcome to Modoc, a dying town of Brahmin herders and agriculturalists. This is a rare instance of the game actually allowing us to use the doctor's skill to complete a side questlet. Get up, Bess. She is gonna follow us around the town and even engage in combat on our behalf. I call her Sulik 2. Curious RPG facts. Fallout 2 was the first Western RPG to include gay marriage, and it takes place in this church. It's also possible to do a straight marriage. Modoc is in trouble. The locals have the same problems as Arroyo. The crops are dying. But it's the strangest thing. There is a farm not far from here that seems to be flourishing, despite the drought. When the residents of Modoc went there to investigate, they saw horrible things. Crucified bodies everywhere, not a living person in sight. We quickly discover that the bodies are fake, dummies covered in Brahmin innards. The reason the ghost farm is prospering is because of the efforts of the Slags, a group of cave dwellers who live below the farm. The Slags are a mixed community of humans and ghouls. The twist is that there isn't one. They are friendly and willing to trade with the surfacers. But the people of Modoc are not in any hurry to trust them. If you want a good ending for this place, you need to convince the two groups to work together. This is the outcome that grants most XP and item rewards. But I have no intention of doing extra work. Modoc is a pit stop. We have a vault to find and a village to save. You might have heard about a feature called Choices and Consequences, and that the classic Fallout supposedly has this feature and that it's important. But something I've noticed by following these conversations is that when individuals say choices and consequences, they almost always mean the BioWarian model, which is when the game would present us with two or more options that have a similar narrative weight. Light side or dark side, Paragon or Renegade, Shadow Thieves versus the vampires. In a BioWarian system, you are supposed to at least consider the options given, but this is not how Fallout works. In a Fallout game, you are usually presented with one correct option and a contrarian option. The best example of this is Junktown from Fallout 1. Do we side with Killian, who is handsome and not a sociopath and is a victim of an attempt on his life, and siding with him leads to an elaborate quest with unique items, and there is a scripted boss battle, and in the end of the battle you are rewarded with a unique hyper-violent death animation, a beautiful element of the game's aesthetic. Or, we can side with Gizmo and get none of these things. You get nothing. There is a battle against generic sprites, and he is also supposed to be physically repulsive, but it's whatever because he's beautiful to me. A correct option and a contrarian option for exotic playthroughs. Gather the men, we are gonna take the ghost farm by force. Instead of us going through an elaborate quest chain, the merchants and quest givers of Modoc will solve the non-existent slag problem by physically killing them all. My strategy was to eat a bunch of psycho drugs that grant damage resistance and then just tank for a long enough time for our allies to reduce the slag numbers. We didn't personally do any of this, but it's suggested that the slag women and children were slaughtered off camera by the farmers, who are just now realizing that they took it too far. The soul of Modoc is now rotten, and without the cooperation agreement with the ghost farm, this community will soon die. Why not expedite this? While exploring the town, we discover that it's possible to climb inside the local toilet. There is an overwhelming smell of methane gas in here. Just one tiny spark. The explosion demolishes the outhouse, covering the northern Modoc with fecal matter. I bet this was a nightmare to script. The locals are now covered in shit in both ethical and physical sense. But I'm not done ruining this place yet. The Modoc Diner has a special recipe: extra large, extra delicious omelets. If this sounds vaguely familiar, it's probably because there is a reference to this quest in New Vegas. The mystery of the Modoc omelet is hidden inside this henhouse. Guard dogs. To deal with them, leave the door open, exit the map, and come back. The dogs will be gone. Use steroids if you are not strong enough to remove the rocks. And that's what the secret is. The omelets are made out of deathclaw eggs. Very industrious. I like that there is a reason to intentionally breed deathclaws. Once again, leave the door open, exit the map, and come back. The Deathclaw escapes and kills all the residents of the shit-covered northern Modoc. The creature is now the master of these streets. Anyway, the BioWarian and the Fallout-style choices and consequences are two different ideas. The advantage of the Fallout-style CNC is how over-the-top dramatic it is. I have nothing but good memories of this place. Onwards to Vault City.
The problem is that all outsiders wish to join our society, which is simply not feasible. We would undoubtedly sink into the same anarchy which plagues the outside.
This place is strikingly different from anything we've seen before in this game or the previous. Pavement? Uniformed guards, laser gun turrets. Vault City has nothing to do with our ancestral vault, but it's important to the story of the Wandering Tribal for a different reason. In order to get inside Vault City proper, non-citizens need to go through bureaucracy and acquire a day pass, a Vault visa. Naturally, there are about a dozen different ways to get it. We can simply buy a visa or speech skill the clerk into providing it for free, but that's boring. It's possible to pickpocket the document of a Vault dweller or steal it from the locker at night. The Vault City NPCs have schedules. They go to bed after dark. This is uncommon in classic Fallout. We can get inside by temporarily lowering our intelligence with drugs, which will lead to the tribal getting enslaved by Vault dwellers. But the easiest and smartest way of obtaining a day pass is by simply removing your armor, revealing a Vault suit underneath. The first citizen would want to talk to us. Personally, I prefer to get fake citizenship papers by bribing the officials. This is superior to a visa, as citizens are not searched by guards. The Central Council.
No, we do not live in the vault. They were a temporary measure to protect a chosen few from the war and aid them in the subsequent construction of a new world.
Lynette is a great character, well hated.
As an outsider, you are in a unique position to resolve a difficult situation for us.
You will regret saying these words, you know. Gecko is a community of ghouls who live around a still-operating nuclear power plant that pollutes the groundwater with dangerous radiation. Lynette wants them gone.
Hello there, smooth skin. The name's Harold. I help keep this town running.
Not unlike the slags of Modoc, the ghouls of Gecko are just normal-ass dudes. It's up to us to bring the two communities together, or further apart.
You see, they are immune to radiation. They don't care that they are slowly killing us with their poisons.
Reactor number 5. The reactor room is flooded with radiation. We trick one of the ghouls into disabling the coolant system for us. Lynette will be pleased. We're getting a Vault green card for sure. This here is Vault 8, by the way. No wastelanders allowed, and the guards won't take bribes. But it's possible to get inside via sneaky fuckery.
We exited the vault 120 years ago, and with the help of our Eden kit began construction of Vault City. 10 years later, the Overseer retired, and a council of citizens was established.
In the Vault Med Lab, we learned that people here don't get pregnant from intercourse. Instead, they are artificially inseminated. I'm afraid to ask, but I will anyway. Oh, we'd welcome your contribution. Vault City could use some fresh genetic material. The screen fades to black as our character jacks off into autodoc. I can honestly say I have never missed the primitive charm of Arroyo more until this very moment. The Vault residential area is used as a warehouse. Nobody lives here anymore. There is quite a number of rare high-tech items to be stolen. The doctor's skill unlocks additional conversation options with the Vault physician, resulting in us getting the Vault City Medical Training perk. But the real reason for us being here is this computer. Deep in the database, we discover a series of older archives that contain schematics for some sort of combat implants. The procedure is only available for characters with high doctor skill, and it unlocks an elaborate unmarked quest to turn yourself into a cyborg. This is done by acquiring sets of combat armor, finding a qualified medical specialist to operate on us, and then paying them large sums of money. This adventure is the main reason to even have money in this game.
What? You destroyed the plant? The contamination, you idiot!
We are a walking, talking monkey's paw. Whatever, this place is dead. Back in the vault, we managed to download additional map information from the central computer, so we have an idea where to go next.
Now we became friends, headed off together. Then, other people started following us. Guess they figured if they weren't safe with a mutie and a steel knight, safe just wasn't going to happen.
Broken Hills is a sizable multi-species settlement built around a uranium mine. The master died many decades ago. Super mutants are a part of society now. It's useful to have muties. They're big, strong, and can do tough manual labor, like work in the mine. But they're also different, and differences drive conflict, because war never changes.
Well, let me make this clear. Nothing's going to happen here unless you start it. Just stay civilized while you're in my town.
Our reputation precedes us.
After the master and the vats were destroyed, I wandered a bit. No place to go. One day got attacked by this fool wearing power armor.
Broken Hills was founded by a Brotherhood of Steel Knight and his unlikely friend, the super mutant Marcus. The town's story arc is about resolving tensions between human and mutant inhabitants. We all live in fear of the mutant rage. Each day there are fewer and fewer humans. It's hard to think of a reason to join whatever the hell this ideology is called. In most playthroughs, the tribal would have never met a mutant until arriving here and talking to Marcus, who is very nice to us. Super mutants are basically just big people who can't breed, like untested athletes IRL. Again, this is a Fallout-style choice between a correct option and a contrarian one. The dev team clearly put a lot of effort into designing, writing, and voice acting Marcus, and they put no effort into the bad people. I already forgot their names. In order to join them, we need to bust two mutanists out of jail, which is done by lockpicking the door while in sneak mode. And then you just use the explosive device on the air purifier in the mine. The miners are buried alive. But wasn't it like the economic engine of Broken Hills? The super mutants are gone. I doubt all of them were laborers. They must have been killed off camera. The local gun store owner was working with the mutanists. Our reward is a cache of weapons. Holy shit, this is pathetic. 2 early game guns. For comparison, this is what Flick had on his body back in the den. I'd kill all the humans too, but it's a waste of time, since without the mine, the town is doomed anyway.
Ain't it the truth? Just don't let anyone who's got the president's ear hear that. You'll be making cattle runs to New Reno till the end of time, pal.
Just as good ideas can be failed by bad craftsmanship, good execution can make bad ideas work. New Reno, the city of gangsters. Just about the dumbest shit in classic Fallout, and one of the best locations in the franchise. The economy of Reno is based on sex work, drug manufacturing, alcoholism, and mobster maxing. There is so much stuff here, all sorts of adventures, fight in the ring for cash. But our character ain't built for this. Not yet. We can star in porn, but the studio owners don't talk to slavers, and the world probably doesn't need a Charisma 2 porn star. We can sleep with the daughter of a mafia boss. She doesn't care about how many charisma points you have. The crime families offer employment. This guy got a little too lucky at the tables, stole Mr. Salvatore's money. We make the man dig a hole, tell him to get in, and then throw a mine into the grave. This is New Reno. There are no cops, no law, and there is plenty of customers who don't mind buying poison from the pharmacy down the street. But like you said, the chems are poisonous, they kill the spirit. Doesn't it bother you to sell them? Does it bother me to sell to idiots, slavers, crime lords, and tribals that the world would be better off without? Primate, 3 words. Get out more. In classic Fallout, getting better equipment is just as important as gaining levels. Tons of great items can be obtained for free, just by traveling around Reno and getting into random encounters. Hell yeah, flamethrower. Fallout 2 has more than a dozen upgradable weapons. The engineer in the New Reno gun store can upgrade both the flamer and the ammunition for it. I'll put it to good use. The person on the poster looks familiar, says the game. Wanted dead or alive. 10,000 dead, 5,000 alive. Salvatore's men are selling chemicals to mysterious individuals in the wasteland. The existence of the Enclave was foreshadowed, but this is the first opportunity to study them up close. In exchange for chemicals, the mafiosos get laser pistols. Not a very powerful weapon, but for them it's a prestige kind of thing. The power in Reno is concentrated in the hands of 4 influential crime bosses. I think that's too many. I consider myself to be something of an artist of crime, and it blows to see our art devalued. Time to create scarcity. The old man Salvatore is the easiest. You just have to pickpocket his breathing apparatus. The family values-oriented rights are usually straightforward as well. You give a loaded firearm to one of the kids playing outside and tell him to go point it at Grandpa. But we have a slaver tattoo. The right children are instructed to never talk to slavers. That's too bad. The alternative is much worse. For the rights. You can work for all 4 of the criminal families simultaneously, all the way to the end of their quest chains. Just don't complete the final missions and you'll be fine. There is this idea that classic Fallout was all about factions and politics, but that's actually a myth. Although there is a series of quests when you take on the role of the Vault City James Bond. Too bad Lynette doesn't like us anymore. I thought we were communicating so well. One location with explicitly political content is the mining town of Redding.
By putting tons of Brahmin shit in the vats, we found out that the fumes give more than enough of a kick. Eureka! Literally. Of course, we had to test to get the mix right.
The mines of Redding are the primary source of gold in California. The metal is used for the production of currency. Bottle caps are not a thing in Fallout 2. I've always thought of this place as an extension of Reno, because the 2 locations share a problem, which is narcotics. Jet is inexpensive, addictive, and it temporarily enhances one's strength, making the miners better at their jobs. It also serves to push the community towards New Reno in a political sense. But something makes me doubt these people want to be chemically enslaved. Is there a cure? All we know is that the place with the most sophisticated medical technology in the wasteland is Vault City, but there is no need to venture that far. We are a shaman's apprentice, which is a type of a doctor. I'd say we are more than qualified to fix this problem, which we'll do by treating the root cause. The jet is manufactured in a place called The Stables, not far from Reno. The reason this stuff is so cheap and plentiful is possibly because it's made out of Brahmin fecal matter. The slaves are for testing the produce. The Mordino family employs the services of the genius chemist Myron to design the drug.
God damn it. I told Jesus those 2 morons couldn't guard a stone. So, you iced them, huh? Gonna kill me, too?
Yes. It's important that we do. There aren't that many individuals in the wastes capable of creating new drugs. They can't replace him. There is only one New Reno crime boss we haven't killed or ruined. John Bishop. There is a trick to assassinating Bishop. The idea is that you get access to his private chambers, change the combination on the safe, and then disarm and rearm the trap attached to it. But I fucked it up. I must have done the steps in the wrong order. Oh, whatever. It's time for us to witness the glory that is the classic Fallout combat and listen to the story it tells. A mobster sprays his Tommy gun and accidentally kills the club's stand-up comedian who was somewhere behind us. We take a weapon off a dead body and use it to defend ourselves against the casino patrons who in confusion are attacking both us and the Bishop's men. The experience is punctuated with ultra-violent death animations, part of the game's visual language. One of Bishop's thugs critically misses and hurts himself. As the battle progressed, we had to discard and pick up new weapons 4 times. Piles of dead bodies decorate the floor. Gangsters, gamblers, prostitutes, random passerbys, the Bishop's crime family is effectively exterminated. Underneath the casino, there is a private fighting ring. The location is not used for quests, unfortunately. The reason for us to visit is to incinerate the mobster's pet prizefighter. But that is not all. The Mordinos know what we did at the stables, and as soon as we are in vision range, they open fire. The gangsters unload their SMGs, hitting us, the civilians, and some of their own number. Prostitutes defend themselves with melee weapons. Pimps open fire inside the casino. Just minutes later, the Mordino Empire is a messy pile of bodies next to a roulette table. Fallout combat. It's a work of art. Always was. Back in Redding, we learned of a place called New California Republic. Here in Reno, there are NCR posters on the walls. It's about time we paid a visit.
Lord, that was a long time ago. Hardly remember who I was then. Just a naive girl. The one you call the Vault Dweller. Is he still alive?
Shady Sands, City of Light, City of Magic. Decades ago, our ancestors stood in front of this gate. Back then, it was a struggling village of Vault 15 refugees, and look at it now. Calls itself a republic and has uniformed cops, as well as multi-species bars, fast food, and religious cults. The Slavers Guild is just outside the walls, with a slave pen and all. The fledgling republic and its growing pains. Unfortunately, there is barely any special content for us, no slave runs we can join. Wasteland slavers. Was there ever a minority more oppressed? Hey you, turd face! I don't like you. I think you should buy me a drink. This guy's the president's son. The game doesn't allow us to cleverly fuck this place up, but, you know, we'll do our best. In the evening hours, the bar is visited by a local organized crime man who offers crime jobs. One of them is assassinating the hobologist here in town, a member of a paramilitary UFO cult from San Francisco. We'll learn more about them later. The cultist offers us to undergo a free procedure that would clear the negative psychic energy and free our spiritual potential from oppression. It is recommended that you save your game and do the procedure, as it randomly adds or subtracts 2 points of luck from your character sheet. If you get the bad result, just reload. Now, on the matter of the assassination, the police station is the building next door, so we'll have to get creative. The cleverest way to kill the cultist is by injecting her with 2 or 3 super stim packs, causing a heart attack. It's the dose that makes the poison. Since we are heavy weapons spec'd, we should visit the marketplace and steal a Bozar from one of the guards. It's sort of like a sniper machine gun. The weapon deals phenomenal damage at good range, it can hit multiple targets, it pierces armor, and uses a common ammunition type. What are its weaknesses? Well, there are almost none, it's overpowered. But I suppose there is one weakness, the small magazine. You have to reload after 2 bursts. Our great ancestor.
Yes, there's a resemblance. You've got the same fire, too. I was always afraid that he was nothing but a skeleton somewhere in the desert.
President Tandy is a returning character. This makes her, what, 95 years old or so?
My boys tell me you're looking for work. What are you handy at?
I do a bit of this and a bit of that.
No point trying to keep secrets around here. We're negotiating with New Reno for membership in the NCR. They should have some pull with places like Vault City.
It seems John Bishop was supposed to represent Reno as a leader figure. The news haven't reached this place yet. Madam President has a job for us.
We need some computer parts from our old base, Vault 15. Problem is there's squatters there who won't let anybody by. Somebody has to convince them to let us in.
The community here doesn't even have a proper name. They are just referred to as squatters, wasteland refugees who build a shantytown right where the entrance to the vault is supposed to be. The obstruction is not incidental. The squatter presence turns out to be a smokescreen, used by the raider gang known as the Khans to mask their presence. I remove them like toilet paper from roll. The vault is actually the ancestral home of the Khans, who used to be vault dwellers. Them and the Shady Sands people are sister communities in that way. From the terminal, we learned the location of Vault 13. That's not the only way of getting this information, but that's the one with the most violent murder. Darian, the leader of the raiders, is the son of Garl Deathhand, the original big bad Khan who was humiliated and killed by our ancestor. So that means he's in his 90s, carrying a heavy-ass flamethrower. Goals. "Here you are at last," says Darion, pretending to know who we are for some reason. "Before you start any boring speeches, I'd just like to say that I'm not fucking interested. Bad dog. Kill." I think that's a cool name for a dog. And so a man in a Volt suit with a number 13 on the back defeats the Khans once again. He had a bunch of roids on his body. He was on a testosterone replacement therapy. Finally, we acquire a set of combat armor, a requirement for the cyborgization procedure. Special encounter, the Bridgekeeper. This is one of them cultural references the game is famous for. The Bridgekeeper will ask us a few questions about the game's story and mechanics, and if we answer correctly, he lets us pass. If we answer incorrectly, we die. If we answer a question with another question, he dies. IMO. People tend to overstate how many pop culture references this game contains. If you follow the discourse, you might get an impression Fallout 2 is structured like a Family Guy episode. But a great number of the fourth wall breaking sequences are compartmentalized inside these special encounters. They are rare, random, and easy to disregard as they don't even feel like they're part of the game's story. Sometimes we remember things, not because they're important, but rather because they're memorable. Interesting that almost all authentic classic Fallout fan content was made by non-Americans. Some media is simply more engaging as a foreigner, you know. But I have good news for our American viewers. The references are very dated. The game is 26 years old. The past is another country.
I can bull the Congress into sending supplies and techs. You sure we can get into the vault?
You might assume there is a political dimension to this. Now that the vault is clear, the NCR can expand its territory. Oh, did we serve their imperialist agenda? Keep in mind they didn't even know the raiders were there. The NCR were stopped by a bunch of unarmed, middle-aged, homeless women. Nevertheless, our actions seem to have improved the situation here. Not what I was planning on doing. Oh well. Might as well incinerate Tandy's shitty son as a consolation prize.
Ah, Vault 13. You've been doing your country an invaluable service.
Our protagonist has never been to this place, but we the player know this cave well, and this door. Let's see what changed. The original residents are gone. Vault 13 is now the home of a pack of genetically engineered intelligent Deathclaws. Engineered by whom? By the Enclave. They were deployed here to prevent anyone else from settling in this place. But being intelligent, the Deathclaws realized the error of their ways and... I'm not sure what exactly happened to them. Read the wiki if you're curious. Vengeance for Modoc. Did you see this? What is this thing? It's like it's sick or something. Doesn't even have a proper set of death animations. And here is the Garden of Eden creation kit, the pre-war artifact we were supposed to find. Our village is saved. Fallout 2. Not a lone adventure. Let's get back to Arroyo and see the ending slides. Some of you might be wondering, we did all this violent stuff. Will the game just let us get away with it? What about reactivity? Sure, some individuals refused to converse with us, but maybe we didn't want to talk to them anyway. The real consequence of sociopathic behavior is that now we are being chased all over the wasteland by the only level-scaled encounter in this game. Bounty hunters are infinite in number. They'll find you anywhere, and at higher levels they are capable of dealing hundreds of hit points of damage every turn, and they get to go twice in a row. They are deadlier than Enclave patrols. It's manageable if you have a car, but alas, we do not. Change of plans. We take a detour to Redding. Painless Doc Johnson is one of the few specialists in California capable of turning us into a cyborg. We have the equipment and the money. Dermal impact armor grants 5% damage resistance to bullets. That's on top of whatever the normal armor provides. Phoenix armor is the same, except for 2 types of energy damage. There is a second tier of upgrades, but they are considerably more expensive. Doc Johnson is asking for $48,000 for the Tier 2 Phoenix implantation, so all 4 upgrades together will cost us around $100,000. I feel someone might have accidentally added a 0 at the end. The implants are not that powerful, and it's almost impossible to acquire a sum like this without grinding for days or resorting to cheesy strategies. The bridge connecting Arroyo to the outside world was destroyed. Kokunin the shaman lies dying on the ground.
Chosen, the shadow of darkness arrived before you.
The village was attacked by the Enclave. Our people were kidnapped.
A rush of wind came. On it were great dragonflies that spat flame. Evil men crawled from the beasts' bellies and brought death to our warriors.
It sucks that the only good Arroyan died. I wish they'd kidnapped Hakunin and killed all the others instead. With his dying breath, the shaman tells us where to go look for the villagers.
Did you never listen when I taught you the yearly dance of the wind spirits? South, of course.
San Francisco is the 4th large urban location in Fallout 2, a game that took 9 months to make. It is said that 2 opposing fighters in San Francisco, the Dragon, who loves others, and Lopan, who loves himself, will determine the future of martial arts in the Wasteland. Actually, I will be determining that. The town is populated by the Shi, the descendants of the crew of a Chinese submarine that crashed nearby. It's cool that this late into the story we are given another social hub to explore, but San Francisco feels like it was modded in by an overambitious fan. Everything here is out of scale. The Shi base is huge and seems to pack more advanced technology than the Brotherhood bunker. Note the use of the Temple of Trials tile set, the second instance of it in the game. The rivals of the Shi, the Habologists, are the franchise version of the Church of Scientology. The faction is sometimes criticized for being too cheesy, but I think this is wrong. They're perfect. Here is an unexpected IRL anecdote. My first ever job was at a small municipal newspaper. Pre-social media journalism, you go to places, talk to people, and write articles about it. One day, a UFO cult rented a school stadium in our rayon. There was supposed to be an event, and since I played Fallout 2, I was very curious about them, and you bet I showed up. Nobody else did. The cult wasn't quite as successful as the Habologists. Frankly, this is not much of a story. But the idea that a UFO cult can build power on the ruins of society seems very natural and intuitive to me. The problem with this faction is the same as with everything else in this city. The cultists are too technologically sophisticated, too numerous, and too well armed. The San Francisco docks are notable for having no quest content whatsoever. Its purpose is to connect the city with the PMV Valdez, the tanker anchored here. The boat is home to yet another new factionlet, the Vagrants, described as a collective of wanderers and social outcasts. All I know is that these guys will publicly shame you if you had sex with a mutant. Surprise reactivity when you least expect it. Somehow they are in possession of incredible medical technology, the Jet Antidote. It allows us to abuse the most potent combat drug in the game without consequences. The captain of the ship is a defector from the Enclave. The tanker needs to be refueled. We need to obtain an encoded passkey that provides access to the ship's nav computer, which needs to be repaired with special parts. That's the endgame checklist. After we're done, we can use the boat to travel to the Enclave HQ, located on an oil rig off the coast. This is where our villagers are held. The cargo bay is full of monsters, but at this stage they are basically free XP for us. This here is the listening post of the Brotherhood of Steel. Matt, the officer in charge, seems to be familiar with our activities. "We know many things," he says enigmatically. Matt tells us of a place called Navarro, an Enclave military installation to the north of here. Our goal is to infiltrate the base and steal the helicopter schematics. It's also where we get the key for the tanker. All roads lead to Navarro.
I work for a living, you moron! You will call me Sergeant or Sergeant Dornan. Do you understand me?
This is the first Fallout game to feature the Enclave. This guy is a lookout. If we pass a speech check, it's possible to convince him that we are here to join them, because the Enclave are hiring wastelanders. But those of us who are not charisma privileged can get inside via the underground communications instead. It's easy to evade the guards, get into the armory, and obtain a uniform. The Black Sprite is my favorite depiction of power armor in the franchise. The artist did a fantastic job. After obtaining a uniform, the base becomes a social location. There are side quests. There is even a potential companion, a robot dog. I don't think you encounter these twin plasma turrets anywhere else in the game. They are deadly. Taking Navarro by force is hard.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. So you're the replacement. What's your name, Private?
Sergeant Dornan is a Full Metal Jacket reference.
Proceed on the double to the hangar, where you will stand guard duty. You will do a fine job. Do you understand?
It's wise to avoid the Sergeant from now on, who will be coming to check on us. Navarro is a helicopter base. Vertibirds have a limited range. The strangest thing about this place is, well, how normal everyone is. You'd think there would be some sort of indication that these people grew up in what is essentially a time capsule of pre-war society, yet they lack any distinctive mannerisms or language. And elsewhere, we learn that the soldiers from this base sometimes go on leave to San Francisco. These are the vertibird blueprints the Brotherhood of Steel wanted us to find. In order to get the key for the tanker, we infiltrate the base commander's office, pretending to be a janitor. A janitor in advanced power armor. Interesting that she has a bunch of tribal pots and items in her bedroom. I also think our culture is beautiful. Anyway, with our skill set, we won't be able to recover the key without aggroing them, so might as well strike first. I am Xarn, Pack Warrior. Allow me to join you and fight at your side for our freedom. Together, we stand a chance, semicolon. Alone? Who knows? Sure, my Deathclaw friend, I'll help you escape. Psych! Vengeance for Modoc! We're done here.
Being a coward will kill us all, including you. You passed the temple trials. We have faith in you. We need you.
The dragon is a great fighter, this much I admit. But one critical hit in the head is all it takes. And so the future of martial arts was decided by a tribal from Arroyo. Part man, part machine. It is said that his style was an iteration of the battle ritual practiced and perfected in the Temple of Trials, and it was called the Defanged Noumena. Matt, the Brotherhood guy, makes a copy of the vertibird plans for himself and leaves the original blueprint with us. We'll eventually trade it to the She in exchange for the fuel for the tanker. This is quite a gesture, Matt. I thought you guys were supposed to be tech hoarders. Interesting how the Brotherhood is completely different in every game of the franchise. We can now access their facility. The most important thing here is the supercomputer that's capable of performing surgery, increasing our base attributes. The armory is full of endgame weapons. There is a free suit of power armor. We take it all to sell to the traders in exchange for Bozar ammunition and super stims. If we leave San Francisco for a few days and then come back, Matt will be gone, and the computer will play this recording. You and your so-called president will not succeed. Is that so? The Chosen One has come, and he will rid the world of your evil. I care nothing for your pathetic prophecies. Worse, you have become a nuisance through your meddling. That ends today. Killing me will stop nothing. That may be. But seeing your body rotting on the ground will bring a smile to my face. Ha ha ha, you pathetic fool. Ha ha ha. Whoa, I haven't laughed like that for a while. Anyway, get ready to die. Amazing writing that won't feel out of place in the epic game Fallout 3. I absolutely love that Matt knows about and believes in the prophecy of the Chosen One. I don't think even our fellow villagers believe in this crap. The super mutant in power armor is the US Secret Service agent Frank Horrigan, the personification of the Enclave. Horrigan's lore is a contradictory mess, and it feels like he was written by a bunch of different people who weren't talking to one another. Elsewhere in the game, we learn that he's hated and feared by his Enclave masters, who never trusted him. But in this scene, he small talks with the other guys who seem to like him just fine. The lore also states that FEV damaged his intellect, but later we'll meet a version of Frank who seems to be reasonably articulate, poetic even, and more important, he has the highest level security clearance. The Enclave obviously trusts him. Time to make final preparations. We go to NCR. The only weakness of our chosen weapon is that the MG can only fire 2 bursts before we need to reload. This can be circumvented by, get this, stealing another machine gun and carrying it in the other hand. Checkmate, game designers. Now, we put a bunch of points into the gambling skill and head to Reno in order to... I guess Reno is worthless now. Let's go to Redding instead. There should be a functioning casino there. Jam the number keys and hold them for a few minutes until we get $100,000. Painless Doc Johnson is about to become the richest man in the wastes after he grafts 2 more suits of combat armor into our body. Each advanced upgrade reduces our charisma by 1 point, but we don't care. The boat is ready to sail.
You've gotten a lot farther than you should have. But then you haven't met Frank Horrigan either. Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die.
We are almost at the end of our journey. So, what do you think Fallout 2 was about? I suppose this adventure was a retelling of the old story about a Faustian bargain, about a wasteland devil who emerged from a dark place at the edge of the world. But just as easily, it could have been a tale about a bunch of friends traveling the post-apocalyptic California, or a story about the tribal becoming a new Reno prizefighter, earning fame and status among the mobsters. Classic Fallout is nothing but a bunch of storytelling tools for you to use in whatever way you wish. The ultimate point of the stories you tell using this medium is up to you to decide, and no one else.
Chosen One, how did you get here?
Yeah, so, a quick question. Did any of you guys have friends in Modoc? There is a second GEC here in the Enclave supply room, just in case you lost the original. Residential area and offices.
Glad to make time for one of our gallant troopers, but I am rather busy, so, what can the President of the United States of America do for you?
He goes into the history of World War III and the Volt social experiment.
The only way for true humans and democracy to be safe is to cleanse the mutants from the globe.
Are Slavs human or mutant?
Tests performed on your tribesmen have all shown that you are guilty of mutation, and it's a damn good thing the project is ready. If there was another way, but there isn't. No price is too high for the survival of the human race. If you were human, you'd feel the same way.
Millions must die. The Enclave scientists modified the FEV virus, turning it into a plague to kill all wastelanders. This is very evil. But you know, I've been doing the same thing for months. Am I invisible to you motherfuckers? Mr. President, get out more. In order to Actually, some things should not be said out loud for YouTube algorithm purposes. In order to get rid of him without alerting the Enclave, I inject 8 super stims into Mr. Richardson, inducing a heart attack. A funny visual bug. He dies standing up. On the body, the presidential access key. The oil rig is very easy for characters with a high speech skill. This guy can be persuaded to release the FEV toxin into the ventilation system. And this guy will just straight up destroy the main reactor if you ask politely. The alternative is to blow up the reactor control terminal with a bomb. Expert gamer shit. I set up C4 to detonate in 10 seconds and run away, forgetting to actually plant the explosive. Moments later, I realize it's still in my inventory and run back. Whatever, it worked. Warning: complete reactor meltdown. Blocking our escape is Sergeant Granite of the Enclave Control Company. They are not immediately hostile, providing yet another opportunity to make our life easier with a speech check. We can convince Granite to fight the end boss with us. Well, you can convince him. I am yet to pass a single speech check in this game.
Frank Horrigan, that's who. United States Secret Service. Time for talking's over.
His main weapon is the end boss plasma gun that fires in bursts. We can tank the normal attacks nearly indefinitely thanks to cams and stims, but crits are devastating. Frank is surrounded by a ring of minigun turrets. Use the presidential key on the terminal to activate the emergency counterinsurgency protocol, switching them to our side. Fighting Frank and the control company and the turrets at the same time is extremely hard and is not recommended. Exotic Frank Horrigan facts. His plasma weapon is capable of firing single rounds, but he almost never does this. The turrets are down. We are fighting the elements of the Granites team and the Cyborg. Things were going fine until he crit us for 100 points of damage, reducing the tribal to a single health point. But because we purged all the negative chi from our psychic field in the Church of Scientology, luck is on our side. And just as we are about to die, Frank runs out of ammo and has to pull his end boss sword weapon. I heal up and crit him for 512 points of damage. The only unique death animation added in Fallout 2, but it is the best in the series.
You haven't won here. You and your muty bastard friends are gonna join me in a big old mushroom cloud send-off. I just triggered the self-destruct. The work will go on. You didn't do nothing here except seal your own death warrants. Duty. Honor. Courage. Semper Fi.
Perhaps it should count as 2 animations, since there are 2 stages. It's over for real. And so the Desert Rangers of Colorado teamed up with the Mexican Clown Raider gang and learned a lesson about capitalism. Alright, patron credits and then final hot takes and the lessons learned. These videos are made possible because of the efforts of the patriots of Arroyan Star Empire. Special thanks to Jim Lawrence, 1967 Ford Mustang, Buck Swope, Snafu, Jackson Phillips, Azazel and Baneful the Doggo. Source is the best engine ever made. C6, a 2-room apartment in Bobruisk, Belarus. Getting there. Yuri Solodovnichenko, Don, Tony Spogoni, Dima Urban, Nathan Kabiska, Combat Lobster, Dark Butt Pumpkin, Ganso Bomb Motherfucker, Ray Ners, Changolian, Danny Kilpatrick, Anon, and Ilya Rubin. So here's what I've learned by replaying Fallout 2. Lesson 1. The games weren't replicated because they weren't understood. And the reason they weren't understood is because the theory and philosophy we developed for that purpose was suboptimal. Bad theory is, not good. These insights are brought to you via the crowdfunding platform Patreon. But for real, if you don't understand the thing, you won't be able to replicate or improve it. Theory is essential. Part of the responsibility for the untimely demise of of this medium is on Todd. Part of it is on this guy. I forgot his name. But part of it is on us. Perhaps the greatest trick that Todd ever played was convincing the world that he is important. Lesson 2. A real Fallout game has never been tried. There are 3 official classic Fallouts, and they are all flawed. The variety of stories you can tell in Fallout 1 and the diversity of playstyles it supports is limited. The sequel was made in less than a year and is very rough around the edges. Arcanum has a main quest that plays way too dominant of a role. You are supposed to visit the major locations in a certain sequence. This is antithetical to the genre conventions, so we don't actually know what this medium is capable of. What if we had a Fallout game, but with a simulated economy? Imagine a Fallout game, but with encounter design. What if we embraced the efficient world-building techniques of the classic games to create truly gigantic handcrafted game worlds? A Fallout game, but with a dynamic political map. You get the idea. We haven't even begun. The next big project for me is New Vegas, but before that is out, I'll do a video on an incredible indie game from one of my favorite studios. Support the channel on Patreon. Peace out.
Alas, the gods whisper for my ear. Goodbye.
It's all an inside job. A dog of Orenyak, no doubt about it.